Okay, good morning, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started. Let me know if you guys can hear my audio and see my screen in the chat box. Just give me a little Y or a yes there. Just to let me know that it is working. Hope everybody's having a fantastic morning. Hopefully your evening was awesome. Looking forward to trading with you guys today. Let's jump into it. As always, I need to remind you about the risks involved in this market. You can lose all or more than your initial investment if you're not careful. So please be aware of how many pips you're risking on each trade, in addition to how big your lot size is, and ultimately how that would affect your account if you were to lose that trade. Okay. All right, guys. So I'm going to pull up my banker's close setup right now. By the way, I had my rollover banker's close trades from yesterday. They came down to here into that demand box that we talked about. And I just barely closed these out. So I don't know if you guys remember me talking about this area yesterday as an area of interest. So we got into there, market pulled up, and so now I've just flushed those trades. So if I don't know if you were still holding the BC trades from yesterday, but if you were, you can get out of them now. So again, sometimes I roll them over. It's not always, but it is something that I can do. And it's something that you can do if you're not getting the move that you're looking for in the webinar. Okay. Okay, I'm just loading up my workspace so that we can do our banker's close trades here. Just as 1 second. And then we've got some trades to talk about. I posted another trade just a moment ago. And we'll talk about some of my trade ideas from yesterday. Okay, so let me actually, let me go pull these up over here on TradingView. I just want to see how they look. Let's go to the Euro Franc. Okay, I just wanted to see where everything is in relation. Okay, so there's that. And then here's the Euro Pound. Wow, that dipped and immediately came back up. That's interesting. Okay. So the thing that sticks out to me when I look at these three pairs, the thing that sticks out to me the most is the fact that this Euro Pound came up quickly, pulled back, and then immediately came back up quickly. So what that's trying to tell you is the market's willing and able to keep up with these prices, so it wants to continue even higher. So I want to see if I can get a buying opportunity on the Euro Pound. I think that news event, yeah, I think there was a CPI news last night with the pound, or was it GDP? I can't remember. I'll take a look. It was a while ago, though, if I remember. Yeah, it was CPI. Yeah, it was right at the open of London, which is interesting. And this makes sense, right? Because they had worse inflation than expected, right? Their forecast was 9.9. It ended up being 10.4. So they're in trouble. They're in a little bit of trouble. Anyway, we can talk about that. So that's what kept this going up. That's a euro up, pound down. That makes sense. So if I can find an opportunity to buy this euro pound, that would be the idea. I mean, we could just simply buy now. We could do that. But that's the most impressive thing that I see for a banker's close trade. I mean, this one, I guess you technically could have bought maybe 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago on the pound franc. But I just didn't like it as much. And if this thing is pulling back, that's just going to give us an even better price. Oh, the other thing I was going to say about the euro pound, it is technically breaking structures to the upside. Technically, this is a higher low than this previous low right here. And you've got this high right here that is higher than the previous high. So we're on to a new, it appears that the market's onto a little bit of a change right here, right? Just this little sequence kind of leads you on to like that there's something different going on. It's not continuing in its downside that it's had for a little while, right? So something's changed here. And then you couple that with the fact that when it pulled back into this area right here, it quickly pulled up. And you're right, Roger, it may have a lot to do with the news, but nonetheless, it still did that, right? So makes me want to buy this morning. And I'm curious on the 5-minute chart if this move, if I zoom in, I want to see if this breached this high, and it looks like it just barely did. So yeah, I think I would be interested in those buys. Let me pull up Sonar Lab and the order blocks and see if we can find any other place where this would be a good place to buy this. I'm just looking. Well, there's not a lot of order blocks surrounding where we're trading right now. There is something right here. Let's see, how far away is that? That's okay, that's not too bad. That's 8 or 9 pips away. Okay, so what I would be willing to do with this is I could take a small position to buy right now because we know we want to buy this. And then just as it dips into this area right here, we can add a little bit more. So that's what I think I'll do. I'm going to go ahead and just buy a starter position on the euro pound. And as a reminder, today is a big day in the markets, right? We have a big FOMC meeting today in less than 3 hours now. So I don't have any dollar currency pairs pulled up right now. I'm just in alternate currencies. That's all I'm in right now. But okay, let me also pull up just a single chart workspace and we can go from there. Cool. So that area I was talking about is technically this whole thing right here would be a good area to buy more in. So I probably won't buy much more unless it does dip into here. So I've just got a starter position ready to go. But then down here is where I'm going to look to scale in a little bit more into this trade if we can get this market to kind of come into here. So let me move this out of the way. We may not even need these. It may just go up. We'll see. But this is similar to what we had yesterday on the euro franc. I hope it doesn't take as long, but it's very similar because if you go back and look at a euro franc trade from yesterday, it had this we talked about this area at the beginning of the webinar, right? This kind of demand area right here. And so we knew if the market were to come and dip into that, that would be an opportunity for us to kind of work on the trade. Because I think our initial position, we started buying somewhere in this area, I believe, which is obviously not great timing because it obviously pulled back into here and stayed down here pretty much through the Tokyo session and then pulled back up. So, we don't want that to happen. We try to avoid that as much as we can, but sometimes it happens. I don't believe this one will do that. I don't think so. I think we've got a really good analysis on this one, to be honest. And then once I've got everything set up, we'll go talk about some other trades. But yeah, I like what we have here. On the 15-minute, it's a little more obvious what I was illustrating earlier. If you start here, actually, you could even start here. So back here, you're creating lower lows and lower highs, but then right here, it makes a high, which is still a lower, technically a lower high. So the signal is still, looking for bearish movement. Then it comes here. We established that this is a slightly higher low. I know that's very subtle and it doesn't, you're like, does that even matter? It actually does. If the market doesn't break its low, that sends a huge signal across the market, right? And then right here is where it kind of solidifies a little bit, right? This high is higher than this previous high. This low is higher than this previous low, and it respects a demand area. There's definitely a little demand area right here that the market liked and held strong to. And so it's very subtle what's going on, but it is definitely a change in momentum. Like there's not the powers of the power has been transferred, right? It may not look like it that much, but it has been transferred to the bulls. And so we're just trying to align ourselves with that direction. Okay. Yeah, I think this is pretty good. Okay, cool. So we should be able to just let that sit and do its thing. As far as our targets go, I like these ones right here. It's kind of scattered around this previous high, but I also think it would be good to maybe scatter some of these, maybe even above that, because we'll probably make another high at some point. Yeah, something like that would be fine. Something like that's great. Cool. All right, we'll just let that do its thing and sit there. Let's go talk about, I took a signal with you guys just a moment ago, which I want to talk about. Couple of things behind it. So if you go to the franc yen, this is the trade I took just a moment ago. It's doing a lot of cool things, okay? And I want to kind of break it down. So first of all, when I'm looking for trades, the first thing I do is I want to go find the data, right? I want to go find what is everybody else doing, where are the retail traders trading. So if we come over here, I like to refresh every time I use it just to make sure I'm looking at the most accurate information. And then I look for currencies, right? I look for currency pairs to trade. If something like the pound yen is close to 50-50, I'm not really interested in it. I'm looking for the stuff that's biased over 70%. So I'm going to go look for, well, just anything that's over 70. But the one I found that I liked was this franc yen. It's actually 88.12. So that's quite biased, right? So 88% of traders are selling the franc yen and 12% are buying. So what that should tell us as traders is that at some point, all of those short traders are going to have to cover. They're going to have to cover their position or buy at some point in the near future. And if they're going to have to buy, that's going to send a surge of demand in the market, and they're going to have to buy or cover in one of two different ways. One, because they're forced to because they've lost so much money, which is one option, and then the other option is they can sorry, my MT4 talks at me sometimes and it gets annoying. But so they have to be forced out, which happens. We've seen several examples of that. And then the other option is because maybe their losing position has now improved, and so they've decided to exit that position, either for a loss or for a profit. It doesn't really matter. We just know that they're going to exit. So we know there's an imbalance and that at some point they're going to have to exit. So that could come in a couple of different ways. So like you could see what we're hoping for on this trade, and I'll explain why, but what we're hoping for is mostly just to move up. So they're going to be forced out. That's kind of the one I'm betting on. The other way that they could get out is maybe they, because they're short, right? Or excuse me, because they're, wait a second, let me make sure I got this right. So yeah, most of them are short. So yeah, we want to look for longs. That's right. Okay, yeah. So if they're short right now and the market just goes straight up, they're going to be forced out, right? Because they're going to just be losing this position. Okay. And then the other way they could get out is what I was just saying is maybe this thing goes down first, which they would love, and then it goes up. So sometimes it does either one, like it does, but it's what I'm saying is there is going to be some buying pressure on this at some point. Okay. Um, it's the same thing that I was talking about earlier this last week on the Aussie Franc. We've been watching this trade for a long time. It, we had like 90%, 95% of traders who were buying this. And so we were looking to sell. And then for nearly a week, this thing just went up. And we were just looking for sells, kind of up in this area. And then it finally dipped, right? It finally dipped. So this is an example where kind of like the retail traders got what they wanted for a little bit, and now they're in trouble again, right? They're in trouble again because if you go look at the Aussie Franc, you can see they're still 87% long, right? So they still have to exit their positions. A lot of them still have to exit. Some of them did, because I remember this was like 95% biased and now it's only 87%. So a lot of them did get a chance, but the majority are still in this trade. And maybe there's been newcomers that have joined in the buying activity. And I see why the retail traders bought this. Like, it's down. They're thinking, oh, maybe I'm onto something. Maybe this thing is about ready to go up. Maybe so. Maybe it does go up a little bit. But again, there's going to be more selling pressure coming to the market at some point, whether that's right away or whether that's later. We should see more selling pressure come in, just like we saw right here. This was pretty violent. And I think we'll probably see that again come soon. I mean, maybe it's right away. We see that move come down right away, or maybe it goes up and then comes down. But either way, this market's going to have to go down because of this subsequent exit that's coming in from these buyers. They're going to have to get out of their trade. Okay. So that's kind of what you're looking at. So when we look at our trade with the franc yen that I just barely took with you guys, that's what I'm trying to say is those are our options. Now, I do feel a little more comfortable about this. We will see. Some of the reasons why I'm feeling more comfortable, I'm actually using the order blocks indicator. I've got a couple of order block indicators pulled up here. One with Sonar Lab, and then I'm using Lux Algo's order block detector as well. So I'm using both of them together. And if you zoom into this, you'll see that both of these indicators are just lighting up in this area right here. So you've got Lux Algo and Sonar Lab, but both of them have 4 different order blocks suggesting buy blocks right in here. So the fact that most people are selling tells us that we want to buy, and that this should be an area that should generally be respected. To me, is like, okay, I think I feel good about buying in here, because not every single indicator out there, or not every single, yeah, I mean, what I'm trying to say is not every single currency pair out there is going to have an order block that's going to help you in this scenario. I can give you an example. Yesterday, I told you guys that I'm looking for sells on the NZD CAD and the NZD dollar. So I mentioned yesterday, this is actually a good time to bring this up. So I want to sell this NZD CAD. I mentioned that in the Telegram chat yesterday. I want to sell it, but we want to make sure that we do it at a good price, right? And we want to do it at a place where we're likely to be successful. When you look at this, I think back here when I posted this, maybe down here wasn't a great time to buy. You got tons of demand down here, and the next supply is in here or maybe even up here, right? So we don't want to get too antsy or too fast into buying this, right? Speaking of, let me actually just do a couple of things. So you've got let me actually remove this stuff real quick. And then if you draw out a trend line here, this is the trend line that we were talking about yesterday. The market just came in here, bounced off the trend line, which is healthy for the trend. But if this thing keeps going up, it's going to just form a head and shoulders pattern right here. It's just going to form a head and shoulders. Okay. So I'm almost looking for supplier demand or supply net. I'm looking for supply kind of up in here that would suggest like a head and shoulders lining up. So I'm trying to find something up in there. Yeah. So maybe this guy would be the one. And we want to make sure that the data still lines up with what we're trying to do. So if we go and look at the sentiment index, we come over here. Okay, so it's actually flipped. That's interesting. So I'm glad I didn't just hop into it. It's now closer to 50-50. That's really interesting. So yesterday I was looking for sells. I didn't really find that sell opportunity because if you remember, it was like 80% who were buying and 20% short. Now it's kind of flipped, right? Okay, so scratch that, reverse it. I'm not looking for I'm not looking for sells anymore because it's now closer to 50-50. Right? So we want to make sure that the data lines up with what we're trying to do. So that was a trade idea that I had, and obviously now I'm not interested in that trade. Let's see the NZD dollar. This one I'd be more interested in. We'll see how FOMC comes out, but this had a trend line right here that broke, and I love these types of trades. So you have a trend line that breaks, and when the market tries to come back to this trend line, usually it's very fleeting, and then the market will then just come off of that trend line. So let's see if the data still lines up with our trade idea right here. So we want to go see how the NZD dollar is faring. Okay, so this one, most are buying still and a few are short, but it's not as biased as we would like it to be, right? So you got 59% long, 41% short. That's probably not as good anymore, probably not something that we'd be super interested in. And I think part of that shift just is due to the fact that this has come up today. So I would be a little bit more, careful, and maybe even second guess this trade, maybe not even take it, right? Just something to think about. But speaking of, if we were to use this, where would we look for sells? Same thing, like the cool thing about using an indicator, so you can use your own analysis or you can use Sonar Lab or Lux Algo's order block. Hopefully they say about the same thing, right? So for us, if we were analyzing this, actually, let's not even use this for a second. If we were to just analyze the naked chart right here, what would we say? Well, first you go through those steps, right? So you've got a nice structure point. I would say this is nice structure right here, right? You can see that it absolutely touches this spot multiple times. And then the next step is to find the break. The break is right here. That's where it broke. And then the third step is to find the mechanism that kind of created the break of structure, which I would say is this right here. So whatever happened inside of this consolidation is ultimately what led to the break of structure. So this would be a great area to sell as long as the data aligned with what we were trying to do. And then, yeah, if you need to cheat up a little bit, you can use Sonar Lab. And yeah, Sonar Lab says there's something there. You can also use this other one that I like with Lux Algo. And they're saying this whole thing, everything above basically here and up is just supply. So in my best guess, this NZD dollar is, unless something changes with FOMC, will probably just continue higher until it gets up into this supply and then maybe pull back. But I don't know if I would even want to trade it at this point because I don't have the backing of the retail traders. When I say the backing, I'd like to go in the opposite direction of the retail traders, and I just don't have that anymore. So anyway, it's just something to consider when you're taking these trades. By the way, here's a little update on our bankers close trade. So far, so good. I'm up 35 pips or so on this trade. If you zoom into a 5-minute chart, here's what it's done since we entered. It's been a little back and forth, and now it's made some moves to the upside. We'll see if that can continue. But anyway, I'm not closing any trades. I'm just letting it sit there. Okay. All right. So yeah, it can be kind of frustrating when you find a setup and then the data switches overnight. Like that switched on us, and so I don't think it'd be worth trading. I mean, if anything, I probably would want the market to come back up into, like we said, this area right here, and then we'd be interested in selling. But I'm not interested in selling until it does that. So, and I don't even know. I just rather find a different trade, honestly. So, let's go look at. Let me show you. Actually, I'll show you this. This is actually a trade I found last night that I took on the pound Aussie. It was the same thing. Like if you go over to the data first, find the pound Aussie. Let's go find this wherever it is. Search pound Aussie. Okay, right here. So you've got 83% of traders that are short right now, 17% are long. That's a hefty amount. That's pretty good, right? So we know that there's going to have to be some supply, some longs that are going to, some demand that's going to come into the market because these guys are going to have to exit. And how are they going to have to exit? They're going to have to exit in one of two ways. One, they're going to have to exit just because they're sheer losing. It's a loss. So when they exit, they're going to have to buy, because if you're short and you have to close that position, you're just going to buy, right? And that's going to send the market even higher. Okay. I think a really good example of this is the GameStop situation that we had a couple years ago, where a bunch of retail traders got together and claned up, and they got everybody else to join in on them to buy GameStop. And what happened is these people that were so heavily short had to cover their short position. And so when they covered their short position, it just sent the market even higher, right? So that's an example of what I'm saying is they'll either have to exit because they're forced to, or they'll exit because maybe they actually win on this trade and they want to take their profits, okay? So there's going to be some demand that comes into this market at some point. So, couple of things I really like on this pound Aussie. It had a structure point right here last night. That, you know, you can see that structure right here, and then it broke right here. And then I took a little buy position right here. Nothing huge. I mean, this was just like one of those trades where you get in for a buy and then it goes up. I guess that's still 100 pips. It did pull back though, about 50 of that. But I also used, I'm trying to utilize other tools that I have at my disposal so we can take better trades, right? So I'm not changing the strategy that I'm trading. I'm just using more tools that I have, right? So I use Sonar Lab. And what I liked about this one is the data was saying, hey, this is probably going to continue higher. You're having breaks of structure to the upside, which is perfect. And then Sonar Lab and Lux Algo both said that there was some significant demand right in this area. So I said, okay, if this thing dips into here, I'll go ahead and take a buy. Sure enough, it dipped into here, took a buy, and then it went up from there. Nothing huge, but yeah, it's still worth noting. Let's see, what else did I want to mention about this? So I had several other options last night that didn't have this. Okay. So I was looking through other overnight trades that I could potentially take, which by the way, I didn't post a lot of overnight trades yesterday. In fact, the only trades I took were just with you guys were just trade ideas. So I didn't even really take any trades. It was just the NZD CAD and the NZD dollar trade idea. And then I was out last night, so I wasn't able to post very many trades, which, by the way, little side note while I'm thinking about this, I am, and I'll make a note in Telegram so everyone is alerted to this. Tonight, I am busy. So I will post my trades before I'll probably post the trades a little earlier tonight, or maybe I'll even just find some trades this afternoon for everybody to take, and you can just take those trades this afternoon, and then just let them sit overnight type of thing. Okay. Because the normal time when I post trades at night, I'm going to be busy. So I'm going to post those a little earlier. Which, by the way, so the COT report was going to be tonight. I'm going to have to do that tomorrow night. So I'm not canceling it. I'm just moving it to tomorrow night. So if you were planning on COT report, don't come tonight because I won't be here, but we will do it tomorrow night. So you can still get that class, all right? So that'll be tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Mountain. That's 9 p.m. Eastern. Okay. So for example, so what I was saying here, guys, is I had a nice opportunity and I felt good about buying this pretty much just at market, or I waited for it to come down just a little bit and then I bought in. But I was using these tools to say, okay, do I have demand here where I could potentially get into a good trade? Since the data is telling me I need to buy, could I get a nice opportunity to do this? Let's see. One other thing I wanted to mention, Sonar Lab, I've determined, and I don't know this for sure, but if you go back and backtest Sonar Lab's indicator, you'll notice that every single Sonar Lab order block is simply just based off of a single candlestick. So like this box right here, you can see is just based off of this candle. And then they have an algorithm that just tells them whether or not it's a order block or not. I think it has something to do with how the market breaks out from this candle, okay? And also what preceded this candle. So it's based off of a sequence of candles, which is nice, but it's not as effective as I would say Lux Algos. Although I love Sonolab, just to be clear. Lux Algo actually takes data and like actual order flow, and then it creates its own order block. So to me, that's pretty cool. So you have Sonar Lab that's more of like a price action order block, which is nice because that's how you and I trade. We look for price action order blocks because I'm not privied to data except except what we look at on retail sentiment. That's all we really have. Okay. And I do need to confirm this on Lux Algo, but I haven't been able to figure out Lux Algo in terms of like price action. There isn't really any rhyme or reason to it. If you go back and look at Lux Algo, there really isn't anything to it. You can't really decipher what's going on. There's not like a pattern to it. Versus Sonar Lab there is. So I'm pretty dang certain that the Sonar Lab or that the Lux Algo order block is a data-driven order block, which is kind of cool. And so what I really like is if you can get the technical and the data-driven one to align together. So this one, obviously, there's two order blocks tied to each other, and they're from two different indicators. Same thing right here. These are tied to each other, and they're from two different places, which is pretty cool. So anyway, I saw that and I said, okay, this is probably a safer one to buy. But one that wasn't safe last night was, let's say, for example, I don't know, like let's say you wanted to trade maybe the NZD CAD. This one did not have any selling blocks nearby. In fact, when I was looking for trades last night, it was down here. It was sitting in just demand zones. And so I knew I wanted to sell this, but I didn't really have a place to do it. And so this is just an extra help. Obviously, you can use your own eyes and you can be like, okay, I think I see demand here. I think I see a break of structure here, but I think this is really, really helpful. Not just to the new trader, like it's been helpful to me as well. And so if you guys want to use Lux Algos, it's free. If you just search order blocks in the indicator section, just looking for indicators in TradingView, there's a ton of these, right? A ton of order block indicators, dozens actually. And you can see how many people are using each one. This one I thought was kind of cool, but I'm not using it. It's got nearly 14,000 users, which is crazy. And then there's Lux Algo, which has got almost 6,000 people using this. And then Sonar Lab as well. That's the other one that we're using, which we like. But you can try out all these other ones. There's some people that have only, the ones that are locked, I think you have to pay for. So you can either reach out to the developer and see if you can buy it. But pretty cool. But it's all free if you want to use those. All right, so that's an example of one I didn't want to trade, just simply take a trade last night because I was worried about that very thing I just mentioned. By the way, here goes our trade. It's really on the move here, right? We got 80 pips so far. I think I may just pull one trade off just to make sure I lock in that move. Yeah, I'm just going to pull one of these orders off, but the rest I'm going to leave. Just let them sit there. A lot of these never trade. In fact, I don't know if I need this area down here at this point. Yeah, I think I'm going to cancel the pending orders. I don't need these pending orders anymore because this thing just shot up. Okay, cool. And then, yeah, I think I'm just going to spread these out still like this, because I do think this thing could still shoot up quite a bit, but just going to spread these out. Okay, cool. All right, so we'll let that do its thing. You probably don't need this wide of a stop loss. We could probably pull this in. You could put it maybe below this pivot low if you wanted, or even higher. I don't know. I don't know. I'll just pull these in just a little bit, but you probably don't need such a wide stop loss at this point. Just gonna let that do its thing. Okay, so I'm gonna pull this over here and let that continue to do its thing. All right, so let me show you some other examples from last night. So kind of how I was looking for my own trades and how you can look for your own trades as well. Because whenever I post a signal, guys, there's usually 10 other trades you can take. Like there's there's tons of trades you could take every night that are going to do really, really well. And I just want to show you how you can look for these on your own. So last night, let me pull up this is kind of where I start. I always just start here, right? Looking for potential opportunities, right? So I'm looking at, say, even like the euro dollar. So most people are short. We want to look for longs. So if I pull up the euro dollar for an overnight trade, I come over here and then, yeah, you can see a couple of things that are interesting, right? So you've got a break of structure right here. Definitely see that that's a structure point, and it broke right here, and the thing that caused the break of structure is most likely this thing, right? So that's kind of how you would go through my process of helping you find order blocks. That's my way of finding order blocks, right? Now you can cheat up and use Sonar Lab, and you can use this right here. Now this didn't exist last night. These two right here, obviously that's a good area. That did not exist last night. I'm just letting you know because that's only like 6 hours old. I did not have that. So this is what I had. And so for me, if I were to buy the euro dollar, I would have wanted to buy it down in here. But it never got to that area. And so I liked the alternate currency pairs. Well, so I actually took two different trades last night. So I took this trade. In fact, I'll show you. I've got a couple of trades open right here. So I have that pound franc yen trade, and I also have the euro yen trade. This euro yen's up a lot more, but I found that those two trades, especially the euro yen last night, right here. So this is kind of nice. So same thing. If you go and pull up the data, you start here when you're looking for trades. You can see 78% of traders are short, so and 22% are long. We want to look for the long side. That's the side we want to look for trades. So now I come back over here, and at the time the market was just kind of over here sitting. Okay, I said, do I want to buy this? Well, let's see. We've got, as far as my analysis goes, I said, okay, well, I've got to break a structure, right? Which is perfect. That's what you want to see. And then here is the break of the structure right here. Did you really? That's awesome, Roger, and great work. The fact that you saw this is really amazing that you're able to see this beforehand, right? So last night, yeah, like I said, it broke this right here. And then for me, I was looking for an area that caused it. So from my analysis says, well, this is the thing that caused it, right? That's how you've learned from me, and that's a great way to do it. But the problem is sometimes people see this, the market sees this break of structure, and they're not going to wait for it to come back to here. Like they're like, no way, I'm not waiting for it to go 92 pips down. It may not even do that. So what a lot of people did last night is they just bought in, right? And that's probably what you did, Roger, to make that money. They just bought into it. And so what I did, and this is game changing, honestly, guys, I think this could be very helpful to you guys going forward, is yeah, pull up SonarLab and pull up the order blocks from LuxAlgo. And this just told me where demand was. And so it turns out that there were overlapping order blocks from these two different places right in this area. So I said, okay, you know what? I think this is probably just going to go up. So this is an example where the retail traders are just going to be choked out. Instead of the market going down first and then going up, this is going to be one of those examples where it just goes up, right? Just goes straight up. Which I actually like those a lot because like yeah, it's just quicker, it's a lot faster, you're just getting out of the trade a lot faster. So this is an alternate way, which I think can get you a lot more trades, and it's a very successful approach to trading this. Instead of waiting for the market to come down to an order block like this, which this is, like I'm still holding to my standard that is an order block, but a lot of the times the market's not going to wait and simmer and try to go back down to all of that and break through all of this major demand to get there. Right. So we have these two different places. And I think last night these two didn't exist right here. So kind of ignore these two, one from SonarLab and one from LuxAlgo. But these two right here did exist. And so I said, okay, well, that is a trade that's going to take off probably from this consolidation. And that's exactly what happened. It just kind of shot up last night. And it actually came basically to the beginning of this order block from LuxAlgo, and then it pulled back, which is kind of interesting to see. Really like this LuxAlgo one. Yeah, in fact, you can just remove SonarLab and just see what LuxAlgo says, and that's what you've got. Kind of cool. So anyway, I'm just trying to show you that there's another way, there's other ways to get into the trade, not just from you don't have to just use my approach, which my approach says you need to wait for it to come down to here. But in some cases, guys, the market catches on to these breaks of structure, and it's not even going to wait. It's not going to wait. It's just going to go straight up. So I think this can be a very helpful way to find out. And I like the idea of using both of these, both SonarLab and the LuxAlgo order block, to find out if that's going to take place. So this is an example of a trade which I did take last night. I'm still in it. In fact, I don't know, maybe I'll exit at this point because it did hit some supply here and it's pulling back. But Yeah, it's an example of what we're trying to do. Let me show you an example of a trade, and then I think I'll start wrapping up here. Let's see how our trades are doing. Yeah, our bankers close trade's doing fine. Let me show you some other trades that I thought about taking that I didn't take, so you can kind of see what that looks like as well, right? So yeah, maybe even the USD CAD. Let's actually take a look. Maybe that's one I thought about taking last night. Okay, yeah. So this one was really confusing, right? So, and I don't know exactly where the market was. I think it was up here last night. We want to look for buys. I think down in here would have been a great idea to buy, but I was kind of surprised with how much supply. There was a lot of supply blocks on here, both from Sonar Lab and from Luxalgo, and I said, oh, that's kind of weird. Maybe I'll kind of avoid that a little bit. So, I mean, if you just look for the buy block, there is a buy block here that may be worth touching, and obviously the market liked it right there. But yeah, so this is one I avoided because I thought last night that it was up in some supply. It was in the supply area last night, and the demand because I want to buy this, I want to look for buys, but the demand was kind of far away. So I said, okay, let's stay away from this one, look for a different trade. Let me find one more for you guys, and then we'll probably start to wrap up here. I showed you the Euro CAD, why I didn't take that one. Okay, there's that. Let's see, where else? Maybe the USD franc. Yeah, so most people long, we want to go short. Let's go look at the USD franc real quick. Yeah, okay, yeah, this is an example. So I wanted to look for shorts. This is almost exactly where the market was last night too. It was somewhere over here when I was trading last night. And I want to look for sells, but there's actually two demand blocks just right here, right? From two different places. And so I said, this is probably not something I'd want to sell right now. It's probably not the best place to do this, especially when you pull up. Here's structure right here. So this was a structure point right here, and the market did break it right here. So that's also kind of scary because you're looking for sells, but it's kind of looking like it wants to go up, right? And then it pulls back into a demand area, right? And then the data is telling you to sell, but your own analysis is telling you to buy, right? So you got this conflict. And so what do you do in that situation? I just think you move on to the next currency pair. You just find something better to trade. That's all you do. So if you find conflict and it's not the setup that you want, just literally move on to the next trade. That's all I'm asking you to do. And that's what I do when I'm posting signals, looking for trades. I just move on to the next thing until I find what I'm looking for. So with this one, and then you pull up Sonar Lab to boot, and it's like, oh wow, that's demand, and we're looking for sells, so that's not going to help, right? So that's why last night and I'll post more trades like this for us to take together, but that's why I took this trade, this Euro Yen long, was because I had the break of structure that you're looking for. Not only did I have that, the data was telling me to buy, right, from retail sentiment. I used the order block cheat sheets from, Sonar Lab and Luxalgo, and both were indicating that this consolidation right here is an order block, is in fact an order block. So I said, okay, well, this is probably, maybe we just buy now. We don't wait and we just take the market order and we go after it. And that's kind of how this franc yen is too. So this franc yen trade is very similar. You look at these order blocks, you've got two different Luxalgo order blocks, and then you've got two order blocks from Sonar Lab, both indicating that this is a good buying area. The data is telling us to buy. As far as breaks of structure go, we haven't technically broken this one yet, but we have broken this one right here, right? This structure, which was right here, has broken, and this is what broke it. So I could see the market dipping into here and then going up. So just an FYI, I could definitely see that happen. And then, oh, the other thing I was going to mention, actually, if you delete all this stuff and just talk about price action for now, we have a shift going on, right? So you were having lower lows and lower highs. This is a lower low, but then you start to have a higher low, right? And then you have another higher high. And technically this is a higher high too. And this as well, right? You're just getting these higher highs. And so I suspect that if we make another low, it will be a higher low than the previous low. So it may come back down a little bit, but again, you've got all of this backing right here, all of this demand that's kind of built up in here that I think may push the market even higher. And there isn't any supply really nearby until you get up into here. So to me, this looked like a really good trade that I'm willing to take. I mean, who knows? It could lose. I mean, anything could lose, right? But it looks like a good trade from my technical analysis, from the data, and then also from the order blocks. Like, it has pretty much everything you'd want to see with the trade setup. So anyway, that's why I took this trade. So I think it should be a good one. We'll just let it do its thing. All right, guys. So I think that's about it that I have prepared today. Here is the banker's close trade. Again, I mean, we've already booked a couple of profits on this. I think it's still worth keeping a few to let go. I mean, I don't think there's a problem with holding a couple of trades. We've now broken this little resistance right here. So it kind of looks like it wants to keep going up, in my opinion, but just kind of the way I'm seeing it. So I'll probably let my trades go. I don't see a reason to close these yet. It's a good little trade, obviously. So we'll let that do its thing. I'll let you know if I need to do an update on this trade, but you can certainly just let this trade go. So. All right, guys, I will get some more trades posted later. And as a reminder, no COT report tonight. COT report will be tomorrow, same time, just tomorrow. So I appreciate your attendance today, guys. Thanks for coming, and we'll catch you in the next webinar.